name is Jessica Dang, and when I was a senior, the two most dreaded questions were, what are you going to do after graduation? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? That was probably the worst question during an interview, too, because nobody really knows what they're going to do in 5 years. I mean, just think back to 5 years ago, or even 1 year ago, and how differently things turned out. Nevertheless, there belies a question that I'm sorry, I'm so nervous right now, you guys. Like, I came from Connecticut. I had this speech memorized, and I'm just gonna like forget the speech and just talk from my heart. So, a lot of students these days, like recent and upcoming graduates, they have a strong pressure to be on a track after graduation, and it's tough because they have friends who are doing certain things that they might not like, but it's something that they feel like they need to do because there's that pressure, like, I gotta be doing accounting, I gotta be doing consulting, or whatever that is. But, you don't have to follow what other people are doing. Today's talk, I'm going to talk about how you should have a conversation with yourself and think about what your values are. This year's theme is leading the conversation with a focus on communication and involving the listener. I would argue that the most important part of that conversation starts with you. You guys, I am so sorry. I had this down earlier, and this is just really... So the conversation starts with you. I'm going to share my journey with you today, and by doing that, I'm going to talk about how I needed to have a conversation with myself to identify what my core values are and how those values inform the decisions that led me to where I am today. So after graduation, I moved to Connecticut for Teach for America. And given my passion for education and working with kids, I was really, really excited to join the program. Though I was nervous about moving across the country and having no control over which school I would be placed in, I was told that I would receive intensive training, support, and career development. Unfortunately, that was not my experience. The school that I was placed at was openly hostile to TFA. They illegally placed special needs students in my class without providing any degree of training, exposing me to potential liability, and they filled my class well beyond capacity. Day by day, I grew frustrated and disappointed with the system. And despite reaching out for help to TFA and my school, I did not receive meaningful support. Overworked, concerned about my safety, and unable to meet the needs of my special education students, my health and self-esteem quickly began to fall apart. Regardless, I refused to leave my position. In a large part, it was out of fear. This was my first job, and without an exit opportunity lined up, leaving TFA would place me decidedly off track. I kept asking myself questions like, what will my prospective employers think if they find out I left? How will I explain the gap in my resume? What will my colleagues and classmates think? Perhaps most fundamentally, I was asking myself, what doors will this decision close? TFA was a prestigious and respected program. Focused on these external concerns, I refused to leave the security of my chosen path, even as it slowly wore me down. Looking back, I was not asking the most important questions. Ultimately, of course, I found the courage to leave. I realized that the turning point was when I stopped focusing on external considerations, the expectations of others, the security of having a clear career path, and instead had a serious conversation with myself about my own needs and values. That conversation directly led me to where I am today, succeeding in a job I love at ESPN. So how did I make that transition from TFA to ESPN? Well, for one, I started asking for help. I know it can be difficult to ask for help. As CMCers, we tend to be high-achieving and independent people who are used to succeeding at whatever we put our minds to, right? So that means when we inevitably stumble or find ourselves in trouble, we may feel too afraid or ashamed to admit it, even to ourselves. But by reaching out for help, I learned that it was a sign of strength, not weakness. I reached out to my friends, my family, and even the CMC network for advice, resources, and the strength to stand up for myself. The support that I received gave me the courage and confidence to leave my job and strike out on an unfamiliar path. Secondly, I took advantage of opportunities, even if they did not have readily apparent career benefits. After TFA, I had some time while I conducted my job search. You know the deal. You're looking for a job and you have so much free time left. You're like, what do I do with my life? So during that time, I proactively looked for opportunities and I volunteered at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. I have a strong background in research. I studied psychology and leadership, and I worked extensively with Dr. Yale on social skills. So this was the perfect opportunity for me to volunteer my skills while acquiring new ones. I also volunteered with a local fitness-oriented nonprofit and taught free wellness classes to the community. Little did I know how valuable these experiences would be in finding the right job for me. Which leads me to my next point. Number 3, be focused but flexible. Being focused isn't about having a plan and sticking to it. It means knowing what's important, why it's important, and prioritizing your actions. It's about having a conversation with yourself that guides your actions and leads you towards your goals. But being focused doesn't mean you can't be flexible. Having narrow vision can lead us to think that the only way we can get to where we want to be is one certain way only. That's not really being flexible. So, to be focused but flexible means you know what you want to do, but you're flexible about how to get there. That there's more ways to get to where you want to be. Even worse, having a narrow vision can blind you to opportunities that might not fit your preconceived notions of what the right job looks like. So be focused but flexible. And the next one, number 4, learn to take risks. Greatness never came from comfort zones. Since I took a risk the first time moving across the country for TFA, even though it didn't work out, I benefited so much from the experience. I learned that it was okay to fail. I learned that even when things went wrong, it wasn't the end of the world. In my new position at Disney, I learned to be a risk taker, not afraid to fail anymore, not afraid that I might do something wrong. Within the first month, I was leading multiple projects. And within the 3rd month, I helped build 2 separate project management offices. By the 4th month, I had the opportunity to transfer to ESPN. And in case you don't know, Disney owns ESPN, so it was within the same company. Next, take care of your health. That means sleeping enough, eating right, working out, and staying true to yourself and others. Too many of you in this room will knowingly sacrifice your health for perceived career opportunities, often in a counterproductive manner that reduces your productivity, your ability to succeed, and your personal satisfaction. I know I did, and it didn't work out. At any stage of your life, you should take care of your health before it becomes a problem. One of the things that I love most about working at ESPN is that the company places a strong emphasis on maintaining a healthy and active lifestyle, something that is essential to my happiness and success. Finally, number 6, don't take life too seriously. I'm learning that right now because I totally screwed up my speech today. But you know what? Don't take life too seriously. In the end, we're just human, and we all make mistakes. And it's something that I learned along the way. It's the ability to ride the highs and the lows without letting them affect your happiness or your self-esteem. To enjoy the good and the bad because, well, life is meant to be lived and enjoyed. I'm going to end with a quote by Walt Disney's brother, Roy Disney, who found the funds to help turn Walt's dreams into reality. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. I hope that by sharing my journey with all of you today, you will begin to think about leading the conversation with yourself and identifying what your core values are. Once you understand and own your personal values, you'll be one step closer to turning your dreams into reality. The conversation starts with you. Thank you.